Well, what can you say about last night? Gutted, devastated, all in one. Football can really punish you, can't it? Thought I'd wait until later on to come on here and say something because I thought about doing it post-match, but emotions were all over the place, and thankfully my dad stopped me because otherwise I might have said something about the referee in a not nice way and the country he's from. So my sense prevailed. Thought I'd come and speak now because need to get it out. It's the top topic of everyone up here. My greetings from Sunderland office as well. Where do you start? Where do you start with that last night? I want to know what made Steve Clarke think that he could not play a 30-goal season striker and put him on the bench all 3 matches and only bring him on with 15 minutes to go or 10 minutes to go. And why it took him so long to put Armstrong on when really, as soon as he came on, you could see the creative edge, you could see things more happening, more chances happened at the back end of that when he was on, and he barely played any minutes. He has an absolute reliance, Steve Clarke, on his favourites. I mean, people will give Gareth Southgate his hell for his favourites, but I think Steve Clarke's worse. He has favourites, and if you have to really impress him to get ahead of them. Yes, there were injuries going into the tournament beforehand, but you still had other players to fill that. Reliance on Anthony Ralston as well. I mean, the whole point of having a tournament is you rotate, you see which other players work, and he's just very, very stubborn. And I've seen it myself, but I've also been stubborn myself, but I've got more of an open mind. I'll be willing to try other things. I just can't understand what was going through that man's head when he was picking the team, because it's a game you got to win. You play the players that can win you the match, that can go for it, and that can unlock things. And this undying faith in a certain group. Okay, they've gotten you results before. That's maybe what he's thinking. But sometimes you have to tweak it a little bit. Would the Portugal manager bench Ronaldo? Maybe he should now, but you still kind of don't because you know what he can do. And no, I'm not comparing Shankland to Ronaldo before anyone jumps down my throat. But when you have a group of players, your job is to find the ones who can get you the results, who can, whatever you get on with them, you just throw them on because you got to win the match. It was there for them. Hungary are not the best team in the championships. Neither is Switzerland. But at times I felt like he had to be forced into the subs or forced into changing something. Yes, a bit unlucky against Switzerland, but last night was they had so much of the ball and made little happen, and they were relying on Billy Gilmour to do most of the work. Billy Gilmour is good, but I wouldn't put him as a creative player. He's more of he spots the creativity, sees the space, and passes the ball really well. He's a very good technical player, but he's not the guy to unlock things. I would never count Billy Gilmour as that. When I think back to that lineup last night when I saw it, I had a bit of a dread in it. But I thought, well, he's gotten results with it before, I'll wait until the match is over. Well, the match is over, and I will say certain maybe other coaches and managers might have done it differently. I'm not going to say what would Sir Alex Ferguson have done, because, he doesn't have this group of players. I'd like to think he would have wanted to win and would have said, go after them. You're better than them. What was his team talk beforehand? What was his team talk at half-time? Those are the things I want to hear from players. What does he say? What does he do to get the mood going? The group was the reason people up here are gutted, and I can feel the mood up here because I've lived here a long time now. There was a real optimism going into it. Looking at that group, there was a group that they could get out of. It was a group they could get out of. Germany match, okay, Germany are just really good. But the other 2 matches, you'd have fancied Scotland to maybe win those matches. Especially playing, and I'm going to batter this drum, you play the guy who scores multiple goals. I've watched Shankland for Hearts all season. I've been live to watch him. I just don't know what it is Steve Clarke why he just didn't do it. He's so faithful to Shea Adams, and he would have picked, let's not beat around the bush here, he would have played Lyndon Dykes no matter what, because he just has this love for him. Like he talks about him like a dad talking about his favourite child. And it's kind of slightly cringe when he got injured and he was talking about the phone call he had with him. what kind of phone call does he ever have with Shankland is what I want to know. I don't get the feeling Shankland will ever speak overtly highly of him. He'll maybe subtly praise him, but I don't think he'll speak highly of him. It's kind of similar to Craig Brown and the SFA with Duncan Ferguson in the 90s. Why would you not use to resolve any dispute you have with any good player and just get the best players in there possible? Sometimes you have to put yourself away from any issues you might have. I don't think Clark and Shankland have any personal issues with each other. I don't think they ever will. But it's mind-boggling to think that, when I watch this tournament, and I've watched football all my life, and I've seen managers do this, the only time I've been racking my brains all morning to think of what managers have done this where they've just can't play a top player who's had a good season because there's just something they've got against them. And I've struggled to really think of it. Maybe it'll come to my mind later and I'll remember one. It's normally they fall out before the tournament, he sends them home, but I've never thought of one where someone goes into a tournament with all that form and the manager just doesn't seem to play him a lot. I'm trying to think of international football, because club football is a lot easier. It's easy to pick those ones out. But on the match itself, you could see after a while they were struggling to really unlock Hungary. They were struggling and they were having the ball, but it's like Hungary knew this team can't really break us down unless we come out of our lines. It was a game of chess. It was a game of cat and mouse. It was a case of who blinks first. And there are other things I could go into about that match. Robertson was really isolated. He couldn't really get forward a lot because there wasn't space for him to get. He couldn't make runs beyond others. There was moments where he did, but then he gave the ball away. A lot of players gave the ball away, and I just was surprised at that. The guy, McTominay, had tried his best, but you could tell they spotted him. They were making sure he didn't get too much space as possible. And he did what he could, but, that's another thing with Steve Clark as well, the ever-reliance on McTominay. Reliance on midfielders is okay in on one-off games, but it ain't going to win you the matches that you really need to win. What he needed to do, what I personally would have said is you need to flood that box with so many blue shirts, so many shirts of your own team, so that the other team are confused. They don't know who to mark. And again, it goes back to what were you doing it before the match and what were you doing after in half time. Only really with 15 to 10 minutes to go did they go for it. Did you get the feeling that the handbrake was off because they realised they had to win it. They had to. And close, there was moments and you felt like it was going to happen. You thought, right, they're going for it. They're surely going to get it. Because they've got Shankland on now. They've got the guys on. If McGregor's a few more inches further, he maybe gets it in and it's a goal. You just felt like the goal was going to come from them because something in you was telling you it's going to happen from them. But no, Hungary break at the last minute and score. But there's one thing I will point this out. I want to know what they were having a discussion in the VAR room when they looked at Armstrong's foul. I've never seen a more blatant case for a penalty in terms of recent football than that. And I was waiting for the referee to blow a penalty or the VAR to look at it. What the referee for me, I don't know. He struck to me as a guy who just wanted to impose his authority on the match rather than referee the game and give certain things. Hungary played the game of getting too many fouls and making Scotland frustrated. And did it come into effect? I don't know, because I think it was a counter-attack goal they got. Who knows? Judging by Twitter reactions and everything else, a lot of people will emotionally want Steve Clark out. I hate to break it to you, the SFA aren't going to get rid of him anytime soon. He will go when he wants to go, because he's earned the status of getting the team to a tournament. Now, when you earn that status, you earn the right to go. And I'm not the president of the Steve Clark fan club. Are there better coaches that could come in? Yes, but it's would they want to do it? Some people might shout at David Moyes. He's very similar to Steve Clark in a sense in terms of he has a pragmatic approach. Would he be more willing to go for it? I don't know. You'd have to see him in the job first. The biggest thing that any next coach after Steve Clark's going to have is the transition of players. Because you look at the age of some of those players. Armstrong, 32. McGregor's now in his 30s. Some of these players are my age. Robertson's now just turned 30. They're going to after the next tournament, they're perhaps all going to, some of them are going to retire. It's about how you manage the next phase. Who do you bring through? Who's the next guys coming through that can be the next big players? They've got to manage that. Otherwise, you're just going to spend another 20 years not at a tournament. And I don't think fans can put up with that. That's a long time, 26 years, to wait to go to another country again. Some people have passed away since then, since the last one, who waited for that moment and never got the chance to do it again. It's a hard day for anyone up here. I hope for the sake of it they can rebuild, but if Steve Clarke's gonna stay on for at least one more go around, someone has to convince him to try and maybe play some players that play a bit better football. And also, in certain matches, just play a formation that says you're going against your instincts. Because the reason that we have great managers, is they don't sideline players who they have issues with for the sake of their own ego. They want to win. They put that aside. They care more about the winning than they do what they think. You know, injuries aside, still had a decent team. And it felt like a real heavy handbrake was on that team throughout the whole tournament, apart from the Switzerland game. And even until the last 10 minutes of that match yesterday. Steve Clarke really needs to go back to the drawing board, or if he doesn't think he can do it, then let him walk. But he's not gonna. Again, to be given the sad news, it's not going to be anytime soon he goes, because he'll go when he wants to, because he's earned that status now, and the SFA will not be. It'll have to get bad before they get rid of him. I'm not going to call for him to get rid of him because I don't believe in that stuff, but you know, you've got a group of players and you've got to win matches. The name of the game is winning. It's not getting a draw. It's not getting a draw against Switzerland or getting a point. It's about winning. And it's not about reliance on one player in the midfield. It's about looking at every player possible and thinking, how do I get the best out of them? How do I get them all in positions where they can score and affect the game? What can I say? I think I've said what I need to say because I've calmed down now. I've thought long and hard about it. It's been on my mind since this morning. Felt so devastated and gutted because it was the last minute thing and you just thought the goal was going to come. You knew someone was going to score. You wanted it to be Scotland, but football and sport have a habit of being cruel to you and lovely to you, and it's when the cruel moments happen you just want to forget them. But just wanted to come on here, say my piece, because like most people up here, I saw the buzz, felt the emotion, felt the euphoria. Never seen the national anthem sung as loudly as that. I was doing it too. But what can you say? Football's cruel, but it's also lovely. That's kind of why we watch it. Anyway, posting my thoughts on here from the sunny Glummer office on a nice sunny day. That makes up for it. Peace out. See ya.